There are 5 rungs to a corrupt cop. 3 of them are illegal. 2 of them will get you killed if you climb them wrong. At the bottom, you skim overtime and free meals. At the top, you sell the badge itself, and whole neighborhoods carry the bill. Look, this ladder is not every cop. It is the minority that turns public authority into a side business, then a full business. Year 5 is the question. On this ladder, the common exits are prison, death, exit through cooperation, or promotion into a quieter room. You start with favors. Rung 1 is entry. Rung 2 is lieutenant. Rung 3 is operator. Rung 4 is middle management. Rung 5 is the top. The people below think they are earning trust. The people above know they are testing appetite, silence, and price. At rung 1, you think you are just bending policy. Pay runs from a few hundred a week in cash and freebies to maybe 2,000 with side envelopes. Lifestyle looks normal. Risk is suspension, arrest, getting recorded, or getting offered up first. The typical rung 1 person is young or newly cynical. Patrol, corrections, sheriff's deputy, small town officer. Recruited by an older hand, a local bookmaker, a tow operator, a narcotics target, sometimes family. Victim cost starts early. Cases get buried, drivers stay drunk, street crews learn your shift pattern. One court-documented version came out of Baltimore's gun trace task force. Entry-level corruption included overtime fraud, false reports, pocketed cash, and roadside robberies under color of law. Officers were convicted in federal court. Families lost homes to legal fees, pensions, and years of visiting rooms. Typical sentence here is 2 to 8 years. You stop being the lone thief and become a handler. Pay moves to $5,000 to $20,000 a month between cash, protected side work, and regular shakedowns. Lifestyle changes. Burner phones appear. You start counting in parked cars. You start checking mirrors on the drive home. The typical rung 2 person is 22 to 35. Already past one internal affairs scare or one ugly complaint. You supervise small favors for others. Fix a traffic stop, warn before a warrant, lean on an evidence clerk. Risk rises fast. Your first wire usually comes from somebody beneath you. A court file out of Philadelphia showed narcotics officers stealing money during raids, filing false paperwork, and passing bad information through the unit. Convictions followed. The wild part was how ordinary the paperwork looked until trial. Victim cost included tainted prosecutions and people jailed on manufactured narratives. Typical sentence is 5 to 12 years. At rung 3, you are an operator. You no longer sell moments. You sell access, information, and protection as a product. Pay can run $50,000 to $200,000 a month in cash, gifts, debt relief, side businesses, and silent partners. The front starts here. So does the lawyer on retainer. The typical person is 30 to 45 and insulated. Detective, sergeant, task force member, internal gatekeeper. Family often knows money improved, but not why. Lifestyle looks respectable from the curb. Private school applications, a second property in another name. The risk is federal indictment, conspiracy, extortion, civil rights charges, and racketeering. One clean example is former NYPD detective Louis Scarcella's misconduct legacy. His own convictions are not the point here. The court-documented fallout was bad identifications and coercive tactics poisoned murder cases for years, leading to vacated convictions. Victim cost here is counted in stolen decades. For convicted operators, sentence length often lands around 10 to 20 years. At rung 4, you are middle management. You coordinate other corrupt officers, outside earners, lawyers, bail bondsmen, tow operators, club owners, or drug crews. Pay moves from roughly $500,000 to $5 million a year. By rung 4, the math doesn't work anymore. The house gets bigger. So does the fear. The typical rung 4 person is 35 to 55. Command rank sometimes, more often a fixer with broad reach and no appetite for cameras. Lifestyle means property held in 3 names, private tuition, a spouse who stops asking, and a second phone nobody in the family touches. Risk includes informants from both sides. One court-documented story sits in New Orleans around ex-officer Len Davis. He used the badge, fed information outward, and arranged retaliation after a civilian complaint. He was convicted in federal court and sentenced to death. Victim cost is plain here. A family lost a mother. A department lost whatever trust remained. Body count rises on this rung because corruption starts protecting violent people, not just greedy ones. Typical sentence, if you live to get one, runs 15 years to life. Year 5 outcome split hard. Prison is common. Death comes from rivals, panic subordinates, or the state after violence attached to the scheme. At rung 5, you are the principal. The top corrupt cop does not look cinematic. The top corrupt cop looks tired. Pay across a career can reach 20 million or much more if the badge is tied to major trafficking, gambling, vice, or contract steering. Liquidity is the problem. Lawyers, houses, silence, and security eat it back. The typical rung 5 person is 40 plus and in too deep to pretend otherwise. Chief, commander, sheriff, union power broker, or political connector. You live gated, watched, and alone. Everybody around you is either paid, scared, recording, or waiting. Year 5 narrows to prison, death, cooperation, or a rare quiet retirement. A court-documented top-rung example is former Sheriff Lee Baca in Los Angeles County. He was convicted in federal court over obstruction tied to an FBI investigation inside the jail system. The point is scale. When the top bends the institution, the whole department learns the price of truth. Typical sentence here can still be years, even for the famous. Another top-rung pattern sits in contract corruption and protection networks. Former Baltimore state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, was convicted on federal charges unrelated to policing rank. But the lesson holds. Public power monetized rarely stays in one drawer. Family losses at the top are savage. Houses sold, reputations burned. Children inherit the surname first. Victim cost on rung 5 is measured in neighborhoods. Witnesses stop calling. Innocent people take pleas because the file is dirty, and nobody trusts the cleanup. Violent crews expand under selective blindness. The body count is indirect until suddenly it is direct. Typical sentences range from 8 years to life, depending on violence and conspiracy. Now stack the ladder. Rung 1 pays in meals, overtime fraud, and a few envelopes. Rung 2 pays in control. Rung 3 pays in systems. Rung 4 pays in institutions. Rung 5 pays in access to the state itself. Every rung charges. The family loses pension certainty, reputation, savings, and ordinary names. Year 5 is the question. So here is the table again. At the bottom, prison is the most common finish. In the middle, prison or promotion if you stay useful and quiet. At the top, outcomes shrink. Death, near-life prison, cooperation. Or disappearing into a smaller life under another map. The truth is a corrupt cop hurts more people per dollar than most street criminals because the badge multiplies force. One officer can poison hundreds of cases, shield a crew, or point violence in the right direction. Operator profit is concentrated. Victim cost is distributed across strangers who never meet each other. What years around this ladder taught you is simple enough. The salary at the top is mostly notional after lawyers, hidden mortgages, divorce, private school, security, tax trouble, and federal defense burn through it. The victims outnumber the earners by a ridiculous margin. Year 5 still resolves the same 4 ways. Climb carefully. Every rung pays, and every rung charges. Most rungs end somewhere you wouldn't visit on purpose. Which rung is just a worse version of a legal job you've had?